Welcome everyone. Our today's topic is how to write a PhD proposal. After masters, the only important thing after entrance exam is how to write a proposal. We have several confusions regarding it. How to write a proposal, which is good proposal, and in which way to prepare proposal. Entrance exam for PhD is the first step, but if you want to be selected as a PhD candidate and interested to add doctor by your name, then first requirement is to write a proposal. Students are often confused regarding their title, the timeline, the period, the author, and the books which are related to them, and what is the suitable title for them. So we will cover these things in our today's speech or lecture, and instead of wasting time over such thing, we will directly jump to our proposal. And as the very first page, you are seeing PhD research proposal, and it is prepared by me, Kashyap Deepak, Assistant Professor, Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar. And the very first thing is a book. Which book to follow to write a good PhD proposal? And in that sense, the most important book is How to Write a Research Proposal and a PhD Thesis, a manual for students and researchers. It is second edition, and you can see Muhammad E. Hamid is the author, and one of the most important book if you are going to write. And this will tell several things regarding a thesis and a research, which way to follow, which method should be there, objective, research question, hypothesis, conclusion, chapterization, objective, and so many other things. And out of all, we will cover some things step by step. And the first thing that we could say is what not to choose as your PhD thesis title. And in that sense, you have been in masters for 2 years and read several authors during that. And out of this, several of these authors become our favorite. And if you are younger generation student, then definitely you are falling in love with William Shakespeare, Milton, Geoffrey Chaucer, William Wordsworth, Alexander Pope, John Keats, T.S. Eliot, and many other authors. So these either are our favorite or we start working on them. So these topics are dear to us. In case of what not to choose is the first requirement, and never to go with William Shakespeare, James, John Milton, or you can say the authors which are in your master's coursework, at least the older writer who are less than 200 years old, or at least 100 years old authors. There is nothing right or nothing left in them for a new research. If you are choosing them, you are giving nothing new. So if choosing William Shakespeare or John Milton, you are hammering your chance to get selected. So do not choose it. The second mistake that most of students are doing, that they will choose a topic which others are follow. For example, in today's time, everyone is choosing kite runner novels, and if you are choosing that, it would be hard for researcher to find the similar matter. Khalid Hosseini's Kite Runner and other novels. So one writers in 2 or 3 last years, I have seen various PhD proposal on Khalid Hosseini. So it is not going to work. Or even if you saying you are going with Prem Chand, Hindi author, that is in English, then it is also not going to work, because many of research is being done on them. So instead of choosing some popular author like Rabindranath Tagore, Sarojini Naidu, Prem Chand, and even the classical writer Mulk Raj Anand or Raja Rao or R.K. Narayan, it will not work. The thing will work if you are bringing something extraordinary out of them. For example, if you are going with Mulk Raj Anand, what new you can do? The two topics that in Mulk Raj Anand are less discovered is Mulk Raj Anand as a progressive writer and Mulk Raj Anand as a war writer. So if you are going with this, then you can choose it as a PhD topic. But if you are going about humanism and other aspect, then it is well worked about Mulk Raj Anand and this, so do not choose it. Second problem, third problem is the easy topic. Either students are going with easy topics so that they can finish the work on time or they can enjoy. So if you are coming for enjoy or something, then do not choose it. Another time, another issue is that propaganda topic. Students are a follower of some ideology, and so they choose their author as per this. Uh, uh, if they are socialist, they will choose a socialist topic. So in that sense, do not go with such type of author which can create a propaganda, and in that sense it would be very hard for you to survive with such kind of topic. So this is should not be work. And but overall, the first thing that we have to is how to choose a topic. So whenever you are thinking that this should be your topic, then you have to explore some out of it. The best way is Sodh Ganga. There are millions of theses that are stored in it, and it is Indian government's website where maximum of the theses are collected from different universities of India. And if you are interested about the topic, just go to Sodh Ganga and type. For example, if you are going Premchand as a humanist, then go and check how many theses are there. You will find thousands. If you are having similar kind of several theses, then do not go with it. So the first thing is to go on Sodh Ganga and write a topic that you are interested to work on. If you are finding more than 10 or 20 theses on them, or might be 100 theses on them, then do not choose that. So that is a bit research about the topic, and Sodh Ganga is the most important thing to choose a topic. And all of you, before going to work on that, do see your topic and the research that you have. And if after choosing that, if you find several things of several author and millions of works on them, then the best thing is that do not choose such topic. Rather, your emphasis should be on to bring something new or old but unresearched. Like if in case of India, Cornelia Sorabji is very famous author of 1901 somewhere around, but there are less research on her. You can choose it. And even if I look at my topic, my MPhil was on All India Progressive Movement and case of Mulk Raj Anand, so it was less research topic and hence selected. And even my PhD was on D.F. Karka, a forgotten Indian English author. So these type of either new writer or old writer. So choose such kind of thing. In case you are not being able to find new or old author, the simple thing is choose some regional writer, folk writer. If I go with the case of Indian authors, then there are several books that I am having with them, like this one. It is from Haryana's regional writer. We can choose this writer as a work, but it is for Haryana, it is in regional language, it would be hard. And even you can go with this writer. It is also very important folk writer of Haryana, or even we can go with this folk writer of Haryana. These are regional writer and less research, and even go with this one as a writer. And if you are going with Bengali writer, then you can go with this one. Jibananda Das, or if you are again interested in Haryana literature, then this kind of writer. So there are several authors which we are having as a regional writer we can work on, and these make us more important. Or even you can go with the trauma writing or the trending topic, like ecofeminism is a trending topic in today's time. So if you are going with such type of topic, then it would be wonderful, and you can apply a theory into it. For example, ecofeminism is a theory, eco-Marxist, eco-criticism is also a theory, post-modern, post-colonial, these are some theories, and this can be applied. Even feminism, post-feminism, post-humanism, these are some important things. And next, we are having trauma writing. Trauma writing is more important nowadays. Either it is World War I, partition of India, famine of India, and others. These are some trauma studies, and people are interested in those kind of studies. And nowadays there are a number of work on trauma writer. We can also choose them. And the last emphasis should be unknown writer. Instead of choosing a popular writer, go and choose some unknown writer, so that you can give something new, and you will start a trend that others will follow. So, but out of it, how to write a proposal. The first thing that in a title is it should be unique. So because whatever the thing we start about a proposal, it begins with the title. It should be unique. And our uniqueness can start with Mulk Raj Anand as a progressive writer, because we should have a title to define rest other aspect of how to write a proposal. Without a particular title, it would not be easy for me to define everything. So I choose a title. It was my MPhil, and there is one book that is written here, and that book is not in this list, might be another room, but don't worry, let me see one more time over here if it is. Yeah, here it is. So this, what we can say, Mulk Raj Anand as a progressive writer is the thing that I get a fellowship from Penn State University, and where I was establishing progressive writer in Indian literature, and this book is a result of that. And that was for progressive movement, and several important authors are established as a progressive writer in this book. And this is how you can make, and that is why I choose Mulk Raj Anand as a progressive writer. And even if you Google it or go to Sodh Ganga and check how many times Mulk Raj Anand is presented as a progressive writer, then you will find rarely. There are hardly 3 or 4 articles, but that are not complete in itself, because there are several other authors included in that. And Mulk Raj Anand is just in a small portion over there. So Mulk Raj Anand as a progressive writer is rarely presented, because that progressive writing movement is often counted in either Urdu literature or Hindi literature. English literature is not counted, although Mulk Raj Anand was part of it, and hence I have chosen this title. So with this title, I will try to explain how to write a proposal. And title for me is Mulk Raj Anand as progressive writer. And here we can go with this timeline. Important thing then when we are going to write a proposal is a timeline or a time period. And maximum, it should not be more than 50 years, although you can go a bit more. So, but ideal time is 50 years. For example, if we are choosing a title, History of Women's Exploitation, then it would be impossible. And even if we choose just 100 years of history of women's exploitation from 1901 to 2000, then there are several things. So for example, there are more than 200 countries, and we cannot count the exploitation of women in all countries. So the title should be very limited, like exploitation of women in Haryana. And then it would making a sense, or Haryanvi literature, or Bihar literature, or Bhojpuri literature, Abdi literature, so on. So in that sense, we are going to do justice. Or exploitation of women in any writer, particular writer you can choose. So that should be the case, and that is why timeline is important. If you are choosing a timeline spreading more than 50 years, then it would be very hard for you to develop your idea. So the 50 years. But if you are going to compare one writer with another, then the timeline should not be more than 100 years. Although it can be go, but it should be at least 100 years, or not more than 100 years. As a point, I can say you cannot compare Tagore with Homer or Tagore with Kamala Das, because there is a kind of thinking or gap that would make hard for you to develop your idea. So it should be good if you are having 2 contemporary writers like Mulk Raj Anand or Raja Rao, but these are old topic. They will not fetch you a PhD selection, so don't choose such kind of authors. And There are several theses on Tagore itself, Homer itself, Murtaj, Anand itself. So, and even Kamala Das. So don't go with these kind of things. Rather, timeline is most important. So try to fix your timeline in 50 years or not more than. So the next important thing is literature review. When you are going to work on a topic, you need some books. These are primary sources, secondary sources, tertiary sources. And now I will review the literature on the base of our title, that is Mulk Raj Anand's idea as a progressive writer. And the primary sources of that as a Mulk Raj Anand as a progressive writer is divided into two parts. And in the primary source, that is progressive writers and Mulk Raj Anand. In case of here we are having this progressive writers here, like this from here to here is mostly the progressive writer, and from here to here is the Mulk Raj Anand's primary sources. And these are the primary sources on the ground of which we can make our work. I'm not going to read them all because it will take a long value, but we are trying to establish Mulk Raj Anand. We should see his career before between 1930 to 1935. He has written some books which were artistic works, and like Ajanta, Ellora, and others, Indian curry, something like that. So these are the things which has nothing to do with the progressive movement. So the time period can be before progressive era, during progressive era, in progressive era, after progressive era, and so on. So in that sense, there are several type of work which we can establish through the primary sources. And we are having Ahmad Ali's Anand, Carlo Coppola's as a primary in PWA, and in Mulk Raj Anand, Conversation in Bloomsbury, Cooley, Gori, the Road, Two Leaves Bird, Untouchable. So these are things that we are having as primary sources. And in secondary is a kind of list that we are having: Margaret Berry, Bhinja, and Kola, Saros Kowalski, Marlin Fisher, C.J. George, G.S. Gupta, Lech Lindsay, Alastair Niven, P.K. Rajan, K.S.K. Nandan, and these are writers that we are having as a secondary source. Tertiary source are those which are published either in a magazine or newspaper. So these in these newspaper or magazine, some review works of Mulk Raj Anand also published. So we include them in tertiary novel. So tertiary simply means the work that is a part of literature in newspaper, magazine, or similar kind of thing. So these are counted as the tertiary sources. Each thesis is having an objective. If you are not including objective, then your work will not be counted. So in case you are going to explore progressive, then the objective of thesis is to explore the progress in Anand's ground. Progress is in double quote, means the progressive movement. With the help of caste, class, and gender in his novels, I'll try to launch him a progressive writer whose psyche of the progress never follow arts for art's sake, rather tag along with opposition for oppression's sake. The thesis analysis has a threefold dimension to find the progressive idea: an untouchable, Cooley, and tea leaves and a bud, and to find how PW is founded in London and later transferred in India and its relation with Anand, and to check the two conferences of PW and the role of Anand in that. So that remains the objective of thesis, and without objective you cannot give a thesis. So this is the objective that we have, and each each proposal should include. When you are going to write about a PhD proposal, it should include a hypothesis, and a hypothesis is not just the theme of exploitation, Marxism or Dickensian approach, socialist or leftist leaning, but to set PW's history as a struggle against authoritarianism, British bosses. Anand is seen as ancestor of new will humanist as he fashions social, political, and religious nexus in his novels, which attempted to establish the existence of revision, reform, and even radicalism for Saxon society. And here, the thing that we are having this PWA is nothing but Progressive Writers Association, and that has direct relations with progressivism in writing, and it started in 1935. So we will have, and the most important work or the part of a thesis proposal is research question. Without research question, you cannot set your theme in motion. And in case if you are following idea of progress in Mulk Rajanand, then how PWA was in English literature. And second, can Anand be established as a progressive writer, and how Anand's novel before PWA were progressive. So with these research question, it will give you so many thoughts, because Mulk Rajanand's Untouchable published in 1935, and it was published before the PWA movement was started in literature, either of Hindi, Urdu, or English. So we are going to establish that Mulk Raj Anand was a progressive writer even before the progressive writer was launched. Chapterization. Without a chapterization, there can be no thesis at all. And we can divide our thesis topic into 7. Progressivism means what is progressivism and introduction. And second chapter could be movement and movement and Anand. Movement means All India Progressive Movement. And then third chapter, Anand in pre-movement era. Like as we discussed, he has published some 5 to 7 books before this progressive movement, and we will see whether he was a progressive writer or not. And then progressivism of until independence via novels. And during that time, we will check Mulk Rajanand's novel till India's independence. And then after World War II, Mulk Raj became editor of famous journal or magazine called Marg. And here he became more artistic. And from here, he left the route of a progressive writer and become more like an artist. And here his motto was art for art's sake. You can say from this time he was not a progressive. And then you are having a Marg movement, autobiographies, and novel of post-independence. And here we try to give overview. And then 6th chapter, decline of both Anand and the movement. And here we'll see how movement that is of PWA decline, so does the career of Mulk Rajanand, and lastly the conclusion. So this could be a chapterization if one is going, and this way you can choose the topic of yours. And conclusion, as we are having conclusion with ours, so we have this. And establishment of PWA is unique, that is one and only. In other words, there is nothing like this in South Asian world. The question comes, can a movement of an age have such a perception of life? Before the radical writers, oppressive people never think about, or to what Locke termed personal identity, as they were never considered by first or even by themselves as human beings. New writers, as author comments Singh, becomes new leaders for them through their writings. That is first step towards progressive transformation of that society. Thus, progressive nominee were, especially Anand, in books with the new direction and ready to cope with and interrogate the old problems with the new questions. They pick up a national problem, for instance, collide of inter-community fable, and landed it in international humanistic marketplace, role of colonial India through his experience. And these are some important things. And the more different you are, the more chances of here of success and selection. And last, we will be having bibliography, although we have given primary, secondary, tertiary, and although we can give same section here, but we have to see the available literature on that earlier section, primary, secondary, tertiary. And last but not least is the theory. Doesn't matter what work you are going to do as a PhD, or what writer or what time era it is. It would be very interesting for a researcher if he or she include theory in it. It could be socialism, Marxism, post-colonial, post-modern, psychoanalysis, trauma, feminism, eco-feminism, criticism, Marxism, and other important things, and Sigmund Freud's id-ego, superego, or whatever. But theory is here, then it would be very easy for you to get admission in a PhD. But if you are going without it, then it would be very hard. So the best way to get or secure a PhD admission is totally based on your topic. The more strong is your topic, the more chances are of your selection. But in case you are not going to follow the rules and regulation of writing a PhD proposal, then it would be very hard for you to defend yourself. The first thing that you have to do is write a proposal, follow the step, but has a base thing or a base work or a writer, and then examine how many works has been done on this author, and on the base of it write a proposal and go and defend it. And this is what I have for today. If you like the video, do subscribe to a channel, and with this I will say thank you, take care, goodbye.